this. Why did you doubt that? So I don't know if you know, he's doing a study right now where he has people that in ketosis, well, have very, very high LDL cholesterol, and I assume ApoB as well. Um, uh, and so he's found like 100 people that have high LDL cholesterol, like in the 300s, but they've been in keto for like 5 years. And so he's just going to go and do some heart tests on them. I think the new stuff with the sonogram, I don't remember which one he said. I could probably look it up in his stuff. And then if you show that they don't have any, that their arteries are just as clear as statistically you'd expect for a group of people with low cholesterol, then you're showing that they're not having a higher, you're giving an indication, not showing, but you're calling into doubt the lipid heart hypothesis, which is that high cholesterol causes heart disease. So, but I couldn't quite get him to understand. It doesn't matter what your study says. I still need to know why you doubted it in the first place, because I'm doing an exhaustive documentation, not just, this, because also, I mean, I think he knows this, but when this study's over, it's not going to be like, case closed, right? It's just like, here's more evidence and maybe evidential reasons to do more research. So I couldn't quite nail that out, but I think I want to go and look back at the study he's doing, which he hopes to have results in the next couple of months, and then look back through on, because there was one thing where, so one of the indicators, one answer he did give me about saturated fat and heart disease was that cholesterol and heart disease really, is that there's a group of people that genetically produce low cholesterol. And he has that study and it had the data. So he ran an analysis on that data and he still shows a correlation with all-cause mortality being higher, actually the lower the cholesterol is. So it doesn't show that the high cholesterol has a higher all-cause mortality. And these people weren't even in ketosis. So I guess that really doesn't even answer this question specifically, because it sounds like that's fighting against. Yeah, so there's a mixture of hypotheses here, and that's the problem. Right? It's not very clear what he's saying or what anyone's saying, because they keep switching between hypotheses. But I think in general, the hypothesis is that, what am I thinking? So I really need to kind of write this out. Yeah. No, I lost train of thought. I am a little tired.
No worries. Do you think if you do eventually get the recording from him that I could see it, or no? Like, is that a no share?
Yeah, I think
kind of
you could show it to a couple
okay.
people, just not publicly posting.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you do get it, I'd love to go through it and kind of like try and create a flowchart of this is being said, that's being said, and this is where we're tracking comparatively to like what we wanted to get out of the conversation.
Yeah. It's such a tangled mess. I don't know. It's like when you have a tangled bit of wires, it's kind of like, where do you start? Anywhere you pull, other things come out. And sometimes there isn't a clean distinction. Sometimes there is, and you just can't see it. See, like at some point I was saying to him, people saying that keto is unsafe. He says, well, those are complete bunk. Well, I asked him, like, if an alien comes in and looked at our studies, and the alien was supposed to determine, is the keto diet a healthy diet? What do you think that alien would say? Or actually, I think I was talking about See, that's the thing. I guess I need to get it because I can't remember now which one I. And he said, "Well, I would hope the aliens would be and have an engineering mindset, and they'd see that's complete bunk." But now I'm thinking he's talking about the studies. In the context I said, I was thinking of the lipid heart hypothesis when he was thinking more the studies showing that keto is bad, and I agree that there's not a study big enough for long enough that says whether keto is healthy or not. There just hasn't been that many people doing keto long enough to have a study. That's not epidemiological and wouldn't have confounders. Yeah, there's not enough data for that. So he actually misunderstood, and I didn't have the time to go back and
Yeah.
Well, not really misunderstood. I was vague, and he went down a different path because it's a
Right.
question he hears often, and he went down the way he normally hears it as opposed to exactly the way I said it. So yeah. Okay, reasons to believe why LDL is not causal. For PCSK9, which is the genetic disorder, low levels of LDL reduce cardiovascular disease, but not all cause mortality. Well, but that's still see that kind of still leans to. It's funny because there's still it's not connecting. That still leans to if you make this dietary change, you could still be increasing your chance of heart attacks. But not all cause mortality. I don't know. So I guess basically it'd be nice if I had more time with him. Let me make a note to ask to think about it. I probably will ask him for the link. I want to be I'm not sure how valuable that actual meeting should be because we're crossing lines so much and so much was explained to him. Even though the first half I didn't explain to him what I was doing, he kept going off track because he was having a normal conversation thing rather than an actual evidence-based. He kept wanting to go higher in the debate, and I'm like, that's not the question we're doing, and we can answer those questions later, but you can't answer both questions at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Interesting. Did you referenced a study in Slack? Did that come from this conversation, or was that something else?
I think that
The
was different.
update on ApoB,
No,
apolipoprotein B.
yeah, no, I found that one later on. So yeah, I found that later on when I was doing research because then I was realizing that I still don't understand. I can't really tell whether people think that the ApoB, like the ApoB itself, is damaging, or if it's the oxidized ApoB. Because at some point, yeah, yeah, I think I'd see. It might be even more useful to come back with some very specific questions over. I'm messaging them over Twitter and just say, feel free to link me to any any things where you do this, or just kind of mention and I'll do the research. Because his two things of it doesn't change all cause mortality, but it does increase your chance of getting heart attacks is a completely separate and unrelated line of logic from lower cholesterol while you're in ketosis I mean, one assumes that the heart lipid hypothesis is true. It's just there's an additional piece of information. And that's different from, I mean, maybe that's what he's getting at. Maybe he doesn't. I don't recall if I actually asked him, do you think increased saturated fats actually increase the chance of you getting heart attacks if you're in ketosis? So I'd actually, I don't know if he answered that.
So sorry, you said there was the two separate ones, and so the one is all-cause mortality being higher with low cholesterol.
Well,
And
that
even when
wasn't
you
the one I was saying. So that was just a finding. The claim he's making is that high cholesterol may increase your chance of getting heart attack, but if it doesn't affect your all-cause mortality, then it doesn't matter. Like it could be hurting you, having low cholesterol could be hurting you in other ways.
so high cholesterol may increase risk of heart attack, but if it doesn't affect all-cause mortality,
Yeah, there's not a reason to avoid there's not a reason then to lower cholesterol.
yeah. Interesting. Okay.
But then I thought he kind of agreed that, yeah, maybe I need to find his quotes somewhere and see if I can make them even more specific,
I think that's a really good idea.
because he phrases it in a way that's not in common speech, but isn't specific enough for analysis. Like, then why would you? Isn't a claim. It should say, you know.
He's probably talked, like, especially if he's doing the study, he's probably had a few talks on this. So I imagine we can get him saying something in multiple places and be like, okay, this is definitely what he's saying. And here's where we don't understand, or here's where we want clarification. I think that would be really helpful.
Yeah, although the biggest thing before going down that path is like, does it help us create the video? Because
Right.
if he actually doesn't agree that it increases heart attack, then I would have to change the question. Like if he says in ketosis, saturated fat, high cholesterol will still increase your chance of getting a heart attack. It just may not affect all cause. Then that doesn't help my case, because then I either have to extend it over to say, is the keto diet unhealthy? Which makes it even a bigger debate. I don't know, maybe not, because I don't think anyone else has any really concerns about the keto diet except for heart disease.
I'm interested in that. So if it increases heart events, let's say, but not mortality, is it just saying like you can get heart attacks that don't kill you? Is that like,
Well, I think that what it's saying is that you're dying more frequently of something else that's caused by the low cholesterol. So if your cholesterol is too low, which might be what we consider normal numbers in cholesterol, might actually be too low because people are eating low-fat diets as opposed to eating ancestrally, which would have had a lot of animal fat.
okay, yeah, okay.
Then we could be causing ourselves harms in other ways that are less noticeable than disease. But that's the other thing, is does he have a hypothesis on what else is killing? Or is it just like, oh, you might have a couple heart attacks, but you're less likely to die of them, and then it doesn't affect all cause?
That's interesting.
So yeah, I mean, so we could look at rephrase it in order to use his work. And it'd be interesting. One of the thoughts is maybe we could time this to come out about the same time as when his study comes out, because that'll probably be a social media wave,
Yeah.
because all the keto people will jump on it, and then all the the proof guy Simon Hill would have to come and do not have to,
Yeah.
but would
Yeah, yeah.
likely do a rebuttal.
Well, he'd be thinking the same thing. Well, this is a
Yeah.
wave we got to jump on. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. So
Are there any, did he give you any online resources about the study, or is it all kind of like behind closed doors? Is there any like pre-publication or anything he's put
it
out there
does.
saying he's doing it?
There isn't a pre-publication, but it was an open study that he had a website about, like where you could sign up for it. So on cholesterol code,
Oh yeah. Did he start this some time ago?
yeah. So it's been in progress for a year or something, maybe longer. So lean mass hyper responders, LMHR is what he's calling it. So, and his is the lipid energy model. See, and I don't know if this is bothering me. This is probably the same kind of annoyance that I get with everything else I would study, is that people don't say what they mean.
Yeah.
Um, they don't say things clearly. Because nowhere does he say, as far as I could tell. So I guess it would be, maybe it's worth the effort to kind of phrase a sentence that is the claim that he is making in a clear, unambiguous way. Because he has all this information, but nowhere, this all hints at a claim. It doesn't make a claim.
Yeah. I really like that idea. And I think it goes back to kind of like finding a specific quote of his that leads into this claim. So like, oh, you said this and this. Does that mean you're saying this? Which is that claim you want to get out of him. Because at least you could then tie it directly to things he's said. I think that would be, I don't know, more impactful or or less avoidable, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Not in like a gotcha way, but just really tying it to
Right. Yeah.
yeah. Do you have a link by chance for that where he's talking about that study? I'm just doing some searches here, but
Oh,
if you have it, I'll
cholesterolcode.com/LMHR, but let me put that in our Slack too, in case that sometimes those words are hard to spell. Let's see. Or at least they are for me. Where's our Slack? There we go. Anyways, this kind of all being said, it was interesting. It got me thinking a little bit more clearly, but didn't come up with any immediate answers. So the question of whether we should, like, I still want to solve this issue, but I think it's still worth brainstorming other topics, because obviously this is, all topics are hard, but
yeah.
this one might, I haven't done enough topics. This one might be harder than I think, harder than the average.
It does seem very technical. That's for sure. That's something I've noticed. So in terms of hardness, especially for average ketoers who really want to, like, what does the audience look like? Does the average ketoer want, how deep do they want to get technically? And I think that would, whatever the answer to that question is, would help you outlay like how worth it is to continue down this route.
Well, I don't, how technical people want to get is not a deciding thing on whether topics should be done. It's because they don't need to get into the tech unless they want, right? They can look at the top score. So the question is, would they find that top score interesting and maybe the top level? But how technical someone is tells how deep they go into the debate.
Right.
So if something is extremely technical, it doesn't mean I wouldn't
Yeah, I guess my worry is something along the lines of how interested would they be in engagement if they didn't understand it. So if it's like a very deep technical argument about whatever topic, and I see, oh, this one's winning, this one's not, but I don't actually understand why, would I engage with it? Would I comment? Would I share? Would I do anything like that? I feel like I would lean the answer is no.
Well, no, right. But if I can't find a way to explain it that's not using a lot of technical jargon that they don't understand, then I failed. That's
Fair enough. Yeah, fair enough.
there's not a situation where there should be sufficiently enough that any topic, regardless of its technicality, could be explained better, or sufficiently enough to where it'd be an interesting video. The challenge with this one that may not be in the other ones is that the terminologies are so cross and the points are so crossed and overlap that we have to first detangle it in order to present it.
Right.
And so there may be other ones that are less
redetangled.
You're right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. I see where you're going. Okay.
Although I could be wrong, and this may be one of the simplest ones.
Yeah. I mean, we wouldn't know until we tried.
Because there is a reason why everything's so screwed up like this. It's because it is hard. But
yeah. The only other one I thought would be interesting would be that AI, either AI security or AI effects on culture, something like this. But I don't know if that would be any better because it's so new.
yeah, it's that one. That one, I guess, it has a ton of unknowns. So yeah, I couldn't really think of an angle on that. I mean, everything we do is going to have unknowns, just like this. There's new studies coming out, but yeah, there's not really enough. That one's like 90% speculation.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So an interesting video, but to that would be because when people are having this debate, they often it's tons of straw manning. Oh, AI won't take over the world. And it's like, we're not talking about, that is like one of the 5 scenarios. And when people are afraid of AI, that's not the one that they're afraid of. So you just straw man the heck out of that. So to do a video that says, okay, here are all the concerns, and here are the concerns that people have, and here are the concerns people are talking about. But for that, you don't need reason score. So it'd make an interesting video, but
Could that be a video to get into a reason score? Like, here are the reasons, and once you get those reasons, whichever one is the most popular, whichever one people vote on, go deeper into that one with reason score.
Well, it's just most of them don't have any data behind them.
Yeah. Still,
yeah. I mean, so like if we ended up choosing, could it damage our democracy or something like that? It's like, well, yes, we've already seen that happen with algorithms. So, but still, we could go into all the studies about the algorithms, but the other side, all the examples where things have attacked it, but the other side doesn't have any evidence for us to put in, as far as I could think of. Yeah, so I think that one is too much lacking data.
Are there any other topics you have that interest you to go into?
I wonder if, well, the outside of that, it's more like what would be something that's popular.
Yeah.
So, and a website to look at topics is procon.org, which is not as good a website as now that's been taken over by Britannica. But that's the list of that would be the list of topics. I mean, gun control is always good because there's always going to be another shooting, unfortunately. I don't know what angle I would do, what exact question we want to ask there, but that would be something that's kind of. And I started doing the pit bull bans on here, and that was kind of interesting. I even have a contact, but I don't think. I think I was just following that because I found it interesting. I don't think. And a while back, I actually, on some of the social medias, I did a survey to see what topics. But I almost no one like responded to that. It'd almost be nice to look into Google Trends and see. I mean, maybe at this point we should go back to doing the school, not the school one, the an arbitrary one that's not actually not a real debate, like the example one I have
Pineapple on
was,
pizza.
well, not something that bad, something that actually has, not something that's just completely opinion, but more like the one with the closing the main street, the one that we have on the default one, and just making a video with that. That might be a good thing to do. The only thing is, I was also noticing on that one that um is that a lot of them are let me share my screen real quick. On this one, we don't have a ton of pros and cons. Like, it's all mostly down this branch. Like, that's a well, and like these don't even exist in it. It's almost too small of
I
a
think
debate.
we could buff that up pretty quick. I'll run it through GPT and see what happens.
I mean, it's pretty fictional. So it might be, maybe we should assume we're doing that. But then, so I guess we need to figure out what's popular. So have you ever done anything on like determining articles for SEO or anything?
In the past, yeah. It the landscape has likely changed since it was like 10, 15 years ago, which 10, which I was really heavily doing it. But the principles of it probably remain. So
It'd be interesting, maybe if you could take it'd be nice if we had, there should be websites that kind of tell you what's popular right now, trending topics. It'd be nice if we could just look and see at the top 5 trending topics, and then we could come back to that.
where my mind goes there would be someone who's aggregating like Twitter top hashtags over time. That's
Yeah.
probably where I'd look, because then it's people are actually having a conversation about it rather than, I mean, it depends on how they rank them. Yeah. So, and I think social media is definitely one that's, if people are actively talking about it via social media, that's a good one to go to. So, but I've replaced my Twitter sidebar with a plugin, so I never look at it anymore.
Yeah.
But I
Well,
can
and
remove.
that would still be pretty narrow, and it's also filtered by what you like. So that's not we have to find a separate website that the Twitter
Yeah.
one is biased. And like, there's Google Trends, but Google Trends is too, I've tried going around and I just can't find anything that's not, the like it's all like popular people as opposed to, so I don't know how to ask it what's a really popular argument right now.
Yeah. I could
I
take a
mean,
look at
yeah.
some new AI products and see if anyone's kind of used the language features of AI to track generalized I don't know, not arguments, but topics rather than, I guess, long tail topics rather than short tail topics.
Yeah, I mean the other thing is like we could do Trump and this
We
current
could.
case, but that's like, should Trump be indicted? Well, that is really short-lived. No one's going to read about that in in 6 months they will. In a year from now, that'll all be gone.
Did Trump try
Num
to overturn the government or something?
Yeah, but even that's gonna pass in a year
Yeah,
from most people's minds. He's either
yeah.
gonna be the president or never running again. Scary, he could be president, but
It's terrifying. Absolutely terrifying.
diarrhea plane, passengers on board diarrhea plane share ordeal. Can't think of a debate about that. So
No.
it's all like just popular news so I don't know how to kind of like narrow this down to debate. Um
There's one transgender in sports and bathrooms. That's another one you could.
yeah. It's funny because I have some people that it's almost like a short video because I see some things on social media where people going, I don't want my daughter going to the bathroom to be nervous. And I'm like, okay, so let me get this straight. You're legally requiring a person with a beard to go into the women's restroom, and you don't want your daughter to be scared. Why? How is legally requiring someone with a beard to go into the women's restroom because they happen to be transgender and they were a female that transitioned to a male? How's that not? Those two things don't. Do you not? It's like they never even considered that possibility when
Oh,
that is
yep.
directly what they're claiming, what they're doing.
Yeah.
It's like you didn't even spend 5 minutes on this.
Does
So
that mean it's a good topic?
well,
Because
only if we had a live person, because all the takes are either so shallow that they're easily shattered. So there's nothing else to put after that. I don't know what the person would say to that, and they didn't think deep enough to go into it. So I mean, we could try and do some more nuanced thing, but a person that someone who's against uh transgender people going into the bathroom they want to would have a more would have a more nuanced take. They wouldn't make that claim because they don't. This is just the people out on it. So that's
yeah,
another thing. Or
yeah.
it'd be nice to have a little video where you just kind of like, okay, so if you say, take a couple tweets and say, if you're saying this, that you're saying you want your daughter to be in the restroom with people with beards, right? That's literally it. So that's more of a PSA
Yeah.
than a debate. So the thing about the debate itself, yeah, I mean that's a possibility. I guess I can't even think of what's the question.
Should a transgender man or woman be allowed in the opposite bathroom, or you can replace bathroom with sport?
Well, but the problem is, yeah, the sport thing might be more doable. The bathroom thing, it's like there's not a definition for transgender. Like, is that someone who identifies? Is that someone who's had surgeries? How many surgeries? What percentage complete? Um,
Could we branch those off into individual reason scores?
yeah, I mean
What's
you
the
could do that,
definition of this? What's
and that's
the, yeah,
also where kind of abortion hits. It's like is abortion real? No one completely believes in abortion or no abortion. There is
yeah,
no
yeah,
one.
right.
So there is no absolute pro-life and absolute pro-choice.
There's always edge cases, yeah, or
Yeah,
where you
there's
draw the
always
line.
yeah, the question is where you draw the line. So now it's a whole
Yeah.
spectrum, and then it's like, okay, so now what I do like doing in that case is then you pick a line that someone has written a in-depth proposal, and then you say, should we approve this proposal? Now that brings up another thing, something I found interesting, which I don't know how many people would be, is that there's a lady doing I should say person. Jim Rutt. I don't, do you
Doesn't ring a bell.
okay, you are you familiar with the Game Beast space at all?
No.
Okay, interesting. This is probably a whole side that we haven't ever discussed. So this is Jim Rutt's show, and he had Pamela Denise Long, affirmative action for freedmen. So these are specifically descendants of slaves in the United States. And so they actually so it would be something like where we take where they have an actual like list of suggested minimums. So so this is a set thing. The terms are fairly well defined. Of course, no one ever writes in completely defined terms. So this would be something where this would kind of be a very specific action into the reparations for slavery. It doesn't cover everything what people say by reparations, but it is one plan. I thought there was something where they had something even more.
What's an example of a main claim for this topic?
Is that a question or?
Yeah, what would you?
Well, I would say go ahead and say, should we here we go, the 3-point plan to unite America. Why would it be uniting?
Like, should we implement the 3-point plan?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. So then, people can argue about any sentence in here, but we don't have to argue every sentence in there, right? Although the hard part then is also sometimes getting someone who has concerns about it to get the information, because you and I imagine, are fairly close politically. So the hard part is sometimes getting very well worded responses from, because this may not, I don't know if we could find a good, like, well worded take against this on social media or not.
Yeah, this is all, I haven't been in this space really at all, so.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't even, and I don't even know, I haven't even really looked at it, so I could have some very strong concerns. And it may also be too vague. All children will experience an education that is fair, resourced, and right for them. That's very vague. When she was, I might need to listen to the episode again. Anyway, so this is the Jim Rutt podcast. You might it sounded a little bit more specific when she was talking. But so I guess that would be another topic. I kind of hate race relations, are kind of scary to me. Not as scary as abortion, but I just always stick my foot in my mouth.
Yeah, no, I can feel that. I wouldn't know what to say or what not to say, so I probably just wouldn't say much at all.
Yeah. Well, this is kind of confusing. website. I don't even see. That's really bad design. They say
Yeah.
carousels are bad in general. Just it's no one ever really likes carousels, but this one's bad because now I have no way to get at that information except for the carousel. And before I can decide whether I want, oh wait, is that the same things
Yeah, I was just
rotating?
gonna say,
No,
well, no,
it's
some of it's changing, but some of it isn't.
implementation and enforcement. Yeah, that's in there twice. 3-point plans in there twice. And then the middle one, how many do they have?
That is very odd.
This is one of those things where it's beautifully designed, but you can't use it.
Yeah.
Because now if I want to go to something, well, I can't even click it. Is it paused while I'm on it? It's bizarre. So maybe in the 3-point plan, they have more specifics later on because the first part. So and maybe we could just take one of these points, fund law enforcement training to include trauma enforced practices, de-escalation strategies, non-physical intervention, quota-free system of engagement, analysis of human impact. So so. Of course, then it's not clear whether they're saying a federal law or just in all the jurisdictions in the US. Reinvigorate the telling of a full history of the United States. Not that. Yeah, that's a bit fake. Could argue about that for the next 100 years.
Yeah.
Um, well, I don't know if you have other things. We're kind of running short on time. I think we probably need a list somewhere of potential topics.
Yeah, yeah. I was just actually gonna write on that as an action plan. So topics, and you have where's that site?
So if one of the tasks,
Procon.org.
yeah, procon.org is a list. And I might even have a list already. I think in my Airtable.
There's also 80,000 hours, world's most pressing problems. That could be something we go to look through.
Yeah, those are um we would have to choose a potential solution,
Yeah.
even though it doesn't solve the whole thing. So I mean that would be yeah, we'd have to pick one of the proposals for a solution, not just the problem.
If you had one or two words to summarize the topic you were just talking about, what would you call it?
Well, I would I would say
Reparations,
one of the because I wouldn't leave it that vague. I would say um one of the proposals from the Coalition of Concerned Freedmen. Just say, not saying which one because we'd have to look.
No, that sounds good.
And then also, yeah, whenever you talk about these topics, they're within an ontological hierarchy, right? So we could say racial reparations for the United States for slavery, although she's not even really talking racial, right? Because she's talking ancestors. So she's not saying has nothing to do with the race. These are descendants of enslaved people. Enslaved. Yeah.
Do you know by chance, have you heard where Jamie is at with her AI stuff? They were doing some Society Libraries. I don't know if they got a grant or getting a grant or in progress
I
of
haven't heard
researching.
any updates
Okay.
on that. And I am in their technical meetings once a week. So I think she's still kind of doing funding.
Okay. Because it could be interesting to piggyback off that if and when it starts
Yeah.
going.
No, she's a little bit slightly different angled. But yeah, it'd be good to know.
Okay, so topic selection is definitely one thing
Yeah.
on the agenda. In terms of
Or
development, if
let's
do you
list
want,
it this way is a topic finding process.
okay, yeah,
That makes sense.
yep.
Now here's some fact checking topics. Oh, well, these are old claims. Okay. I'll make a note to find a list of, because I think somewhere I had a broader list of topics that I already started curating. So there's a task to document the exact claim of what Dr. Feldman is trying to say unambiguously. Is that something you feel like you could tackle, or do you think that I have a bigger, like
Say
I'd
that
be
again. The
a,
initial thing.
the thing of a claim of a better writing of what not Dr. Feldman, he's not a doctor, about Feldman is saying, the claim he's trying to make in doing his study.
In terms of the study, what
Yeah.
claims, what claim or claims?
I mean, it's mainly his primary claim because he has lots of sub ones, but what is, he says why he wants to do it, but he doesn't summarize it well in a sentence, and he doesn't say it unambiguously. So,
Yeah.
but
Is this also along the lines of like finding some of his specific quotes
yeah,
and then using that to be more specific, like using that as content for him to be more specific on?
yeah. I mean, it can be.
Yeah.
There's a possibility that he doesn't even have a set of quotes that get anywhere near what he's trying to say. Like the smallest quote that encompasses the scope of what he wants to say may be several paragraphs. But so I don't want to assume we'll find quotes and we'll be able to convert those to what he's saying. But at least I guess if we have the quotes in front of us, we could probably synthesize off of that.
Yeah. I'm down with doing that. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then trending topics, or not a top trending topics, but a topics process. So you're going to think about putting together a process on how to figure out what topics we want to go on.
Yes.
Okay. And then you also talked about making it to where the text is editable in a claim. Have you
That was just
even,
but
you haven't even started that, I assume.
no, that I have not.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, I guess these take precedent over that.
Right.
Of course, follow your passions. Don't feel like you have to, nothing in this has a deadline. So wherever your energy's at the moment, feel free to pursue that.
Fair enough. Is there anything else in related to the dev that you see needs work or you want to do? There's one bug I see in my current one anyway. Actually, let me check the live one. When I add a pro and then another pro, or a pro and another con, there's just some unfilled out spot. I forget what that's called. Where the calculation's made, it gets like just not filled out. So I'm not sure when that showed up.
Yeah, the calculations are way off. Maybe I need to investigate that because so let me refresh. Let's just go down to one of these blank tests. I'm wondering whether it would be helpful to start out with an even simpler map, but maybe I'm wrong because it's nice to have this all kind of displayed. One thing it'd be nice to be able to do is to delete one.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so we got this one. Let's do a pro. So like this is immediately wrong. The outcoming score is correct. I don't know what it's trying to do here. There shouldn't be a wall at all. No, there should be because this is actually, I'm sorry, this is correct because this one is canceling it out. There is no pro. I don't even know if that's actually going to be something that happens. Okay, so this looks correct. So a single opposing argument is wrong, but I don't even know if we're ever going to show this. But let's see if we put in another orange. That looks correct up until here. Those sizes are different. Let's put in another purple. Cancels out again. So what you might want to do if you see that again, you might yeah, so this is looking kind of correct to me right now.
So now I think if you were to make a pro against one of the con new claim text claims, that's that little white space you can see there, or not white space, but unfilled
This
out black space. No, if you go left a bit more on the actual test claim, right there. Yeah. There's a little bit of a
well, yeah, I mean it should go down to nothing instead of an X. Yeah, that's interesting. Is it handling?
it's much more visible. Like if you do that to the top claim you have there, the increase in or if you go back actually to the increase in revenue is expected, and then add a pro to that and a con to that pro, and you can, and then it's much more visible of, and then try adding a pro then to that con.
This
Yeah.
This one.
Yeah. So there's the big gap in the increase in revenue is expected.
Well, yeah, this one. I mean, technically,
I guess that makes sense now that you kind of laid it out. Yeah, because if it's canceling it out, it doesn't exist or
it's
not,
not.
doesn't
Yes,
help.
it's not displaying elegantly in several places, but also this should be. Let's see that this one is extra wide before. Yeah, it's extra wide before. If I put a con to it, it's the normal width now because this is no longer affecting it. But you see how this is still solid. This should be all dark purple instead of light purple.
I see.
But yeah, it's definitely there's some edge cases there. So this math is right, but this line is wrong. Is that line even updating? No, see, this line isn't updating at all. That's interesting. You know what? I may not have the math hookup. No, I do have it because it gets wider. I guess maybe I have the relevance math hooked up to these, but not the confidence ones. Although it should be the same math as down here.
If you add a new confidence, sorry, I get these mixed up all the time. I think relevance. Yeah, do that, add a pro there, and you'll see it change.
Yeah. I guess we'll have to figure that out. I also need to decide if I'm going to rewrite this math in here. I kind of want to have this cancel out happen out here. and then have it shrink up and go. But
Yeah, that makes sense.
that'd take a lot of time to really dig into that and get it working. The other thing is when you add these, it'd be nice if it would slowly increase the value so you could see them fit in. But that also means like we're running the complete calculations for the whole thing every 10th of a second for like 10 times every time there's a change. There might be a way, that's if we did it this way, a better way would be to use the browser's animation tools, which theoretically do work with SVGs. But it'd be fairly challenging to figure out because we're converting from DOM elements to SVGs and then back. It's like using multiple technologies.
I guess that might be more of a feature than a MVP requirement.
Yeah. Have you thought about how you want to make these editable?
I have not.
Okay. Because I think we're gonna want to be able to take several actions on these more than just editing. So it'd be nice if you could just click in there and you can edit. But also,
Yeah.
like if we're gonna add a delete, I don't want to have like an edit button and a delete button and all this other stuff. So it might be good to have it to where when you hover over, just the same way these appear more legible, to have a button down here that's like edit. And under that edit button, it would have delete, or like at times you might want to switch it from a pro to a con or something like that.
Would you like a menu button, or would you like each of those buttons visible without
No,
going
like
into a separate menu?
a single menu button for now.
Okay, single menu. Yeah.
Because and just to kind of talk through the UI choices there is that when you're using this app, you're going to be hovering over it, and I don't want
Yeah.
it to be too distracting. So having
Yeah, I
10
like that.
buttons pop up.
Yeah.
Now, another kind of UX decision though might be that when you are here, maybe instead of having one dot, there's actually two, one's orange and one's purple. And then whichever one you drag off of, it automatically knows whether you're creating a pro or a con. Because then you could just go, but I don't know if I haven't quite decided that that's really a good design decision or not. So it's probably not worth going there.
Yeah, it would be easier to add them, but it would increase the UX.
You know what
And
we
it
could
would
do?
increase the
Yeah,
number of
the complexity. Yeah.
Right.
You know what we could do is also just make a right-click menu. It's not intuitive, but maybe that'd be fine for now while we're just making videos, and later on we could add a button. So if you want to do a right-click menu for the delete. Now there's also new there's new tech for making menus. I don't know if React Flow has a context menu built into it or not. I know they have these buttons on the right, and up here and stuff, but I don't know if they have a right click menu built in. There's some brand new web stuff I cannot remember the name of. I'll post a link shortly with something to kind of look at and to think about before you implement a library to do that. You no longer need a library.
Node context menus. That sounds like what we're going for. They have a right click. So
yeah, okay. If they have a well, yeah, if you can do it without writing much code at all, if it's just calling their function and stuff, then let's do that. But if you have to actually create position some divs, there's some new tech that does that. But if they
right.
have it completely built in, where was it? React Flow?
Reactflow.dev, yeah, examples on the
They
left hand
probably
side.
already have one.
Yeah, so if you go to keep going down, it's interaction at the bottom of interaction. Yeah, and it's right there. It's on node context menu. It looks pretty simple.
Yeah. Okay, then yeah, I'd rather use that than write our own. Yeah, so if you would just go ahead and do that for deleting. Although for editing, I do like it to where you can just click in there. I'm just wondering if we're going to display stuff later. You know, the other thing is, rather than have these be divs, maybe we go ahead and make them a input. And you just need to style them. And so that you can just go ahead and click into them. And if they're styled, then it won't look as funny when you get in there. So, I mean, I'm trying to think if there's a reason why we wouldn't want to use inputs if we're going to put any graphics in here. But I think, at least for now, we can just make them inputs. You do need to make it to where as you type in there, it updates the data.
Mm-hmm.
But we could probably just switch them to an input from a div and then hook them up. So
one of the things I've been a fan of doing, we use Blueprint library, and often I just use like on blur to do the changes rather than doing it live, because unless you need to see the live changes for whatever reason, if that affects the UI, whatever. But if it doesn't, then the value just gets set on exit on blur.
Yes, I was wondering for text boxes, is the on change is that every keystroke, or is that on a leave? I used to use on blur a lot, and there was a reason why I stopped using it, but we don't have any validation. But that means we'll not be using React. We'll be using uncontrolled components. Is that what they're called?
I think so.
There's some to where you could set the value in the automatically, yeah, uncontrolled components. And that is probably, which is probably sufficient for this. Yeah. And I think on blur is still the right decision for that. They assume a submit button, but we don't need a submit button. Okay, so yeah, if we make those inputs, style them to where it looks the same, and then on blur do a data update. That should be good. And we will need that pretty soon. Although for the videos, I'm gonna want to do did I ever show you my scripts?
The keto script?
Yeah, to where it types it in and it'll, well, not keto, no, I'm saying
No,
it's actually, so that video on reasonscore.com, this video here, this is all
In this example, reason score.
oh yeah,
this is actually all controlled by code.
Cool.
So actually, even before let's go ahead and do the editing and the deleting. But logically, getting this to work to where I can control it is really what I need for the video. And this is also the reason why, in the commands, there's like, oh, I want to add a node, and then there's I want to run the calculations. That's two separate commands. So in this case, I can add it, and then I can, a second later, after it's typing in all the stuff, it can then run the calculations, then everything adjusts. So that's why those commands are different. I don't just have a listener listening every time you add a node, it redoes the calcs. And that's for creating these videos.
That makes sense.
Cool. Well,
I
we
remember
have,
when I saw that video, I was going to ask you, this is awesome. How do you do that?
yeah,
That was a while ago, but yeah.
yeah. So it's nice. So I want to do that same thing in here, so I can actually write a JavaScript script, and we can run it, and it'll just play. And then also, as we adapt the UI, this script that I made, actually, it even plays the audio clips. So if we change the UI, we could rerun it and re-record it.
Oh, I see
That
what you're
makes
saying.
sense.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
it.
because
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
all scripted, and if we want to make a change, you make the change, or rerun it, re-record it.
Oh, that's nice.
So I don't have to. Yeah.
Redo the whole thing again and make sure you click right. And yeah, wow.
Yeah.
That's super awesome.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay,
Well, we
I
got some
definitely have a,
tasks, and
go ahead.
I don't know what I'm going to work on next.
If you do want to do dev work, I think the calculations and making those adjustments, like if you add this, then this calculation, that's probably best served by you doing that versus me.
Yeah.
I still don't have a full grasp of what's all going on there, so it'd take me a lot longer. I'd be happy to. I'm just for efficiency, if that's what. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I guess I need to move that brick wall over. I kind of want to rewrite the whole thing, but the whole drawing algorithm, but I shouldn't. It's sufficient for now. We should do it. And then I should work on the scripting. Oh, and one other thing is I'm going to put the score. One quick thing about kind of UI on this is that if you look at the way these are, is that there's a lot of information on the right-hand side. But there's basically a blank spot in the upper left and the lower left. So I'm going to put the score up here. And the score would be something that we could toggle on and off, just like this dev button, which is airing out right now.
That's weird.
Oh, one of the suggestions is and I almost did this, there's no freak you out, is that everything's kind of repositioning because you you made the thing wider to see more. But what I was going to suggest rather than that is try to just shrink the text down.
Okay.
And then the box, then you're not changing the shape of the overall thing.
Yeah, it's not so jarring. Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
But so I'll probably have a button or over here or somewhere that puts the score up there. And you've seen the score thing. Do you remember that one?
Offhand, I don't. Sorry.
Let's see. What
was it in Miro? One of the things in Miro, or was it?
No, I mean, there's a picture of it in Miro, but code pen. That's not my reason score. It's in my evidence explorer. I swear it was here. Where is it? Okay, I guess not. Maybe I coded it up someplace. But it's just like an announcing board on like at a baseball game. Well,
oh yeah,
actually,
yeah. I remember.
it's just the two numbers, and that's also one where I'm going to want it to like count up, as opposed to just. Well, I guess it maybe fades in and out. Okay.
Was it digital? Like it was like digital numbers? Yeah. I remember it a little bit now.
So I'm going to add that in the upper left and have it be an optional toggle that you can turn on and off.
That's a good idea.
So that'll be useful for the video. All right, man. Well, thanks so much for your time, and continue working on a project that has such fluid. A lot of times you're doing stuff for businesses or something like that. They're like, oh, we need to do this, but this is kind of like, well, we're going to try something. It's not going to work. We're going to try something else. It's not going to work. Anyways,
I'm just excited to get back to work on it. I feel like it's been too long since I've touched it, and I'm excited to get back to work on it. So
cool. All right.
Awesome.
Talk to you next time. Bye.
Till next time. See ya.